This episode of Small Town Western New York was made possible by the following supporters. Hi, on this episode of Small Town Western New York, I'm taking a day trip to a few places that as a kid sat just down the road from me, but I never really got to know. It's actually a string of 3 little towns that remind me so much of the classic small towns I used to visit in Vermont. They all sit perched on the banks of Cazenovia Creek and are tucked right at the base of a beautiful little valley. I'm headed to Colden, West Falls, and Glenwood. Over the last few years, all of these towns have seen quite the revitalization, and they're now coming into their collective own. They're part of what we call snow country in the immediate south towns of Buffalo, as it's the most accessible ski and snow sports area to the south. But there's a lot more to these towns than winter fun. They've all seen quite a lot of improvement over the last few years and are now quite literally sitting pretty. Colden was once part of the town of Holland. And it was founded by a man named Richard Buffum, who came here from Rhode Island with his children and a few other folks, like so many others did during this time period. He was able to purchase 2,000 acres of land from the Holland Land Company, and at the time, the settlement was known as Buffum's Mill, for the grist mill he and one of his hired hands built here. On April 2nd, 1828, the town was organized and contained 22,704 acres. The name of the town eventually became Colden, named after Senator Caldwell D. Colden. By 1831, the first shop was opened here in Colden by a man named E.P. Hatch, and soon after, a tannery, hotel, lodge, mill, and cheese factory followed. One thing I was able to enjoy a few weeks before I began filming was the annual Colden Art Show, which is the biggest festival the town has every year. It was a pretty special day full of great people, great art, and a great time. So we met at the Colden Art Festival, and what I was most impressed with was how the town kind of comes together for that. How did it start?
So it started in 1968, which is just basically a little enclave of artists and skiers and maybe some hippies thrown in. And they decided to have a party one year.
Right.
And it ended up being the first festival. And it just has grown and changed and adapted through the years. So a lot of the townspeople were there in 1968.
So you'll still see them like at this one that we were at?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They'll come up and tell me stories, and which is really fun because it's their festival. It's our festival.
Was it in that lot?
No, actually, that lot didn't exist. It was just all along the road. It ran all down 240.
Oh, that's such a 60s, 70s, right?
And
they just set up on the side of the road?
It's way too dangerous to do that now.
Yeah, you can't do that, yeah.
We've looked at actually going back to that model of having it along the roadside. So
it'd be so cool,
as you come down the hill into the village, you're like, oh, this is amazing. We think about that every year for our committee when we talk about it. Like, how can we bring back that feeling? And, so we've tried to do that by bringing the musicians in and getting more and more people from the village or town involved. We keep the quality high.
Right.
And so people know when they come to the Colden Art Festival, they're going to see really good artists.
Another not-so-hidden gem that doesn't get far enough love is just outside of the hamlet of Glenwood. Sprauge Brook Park is a great county park with a whole host of things to do any time of the year. It offers 123 campsites, fishing, hiking trails, tennis courts, and picnic and children's areas. And in the winter, you can even cross-country ski or snowshoe here, as well as ride the designated snowmobile trails. In May of 1963, the park was acquired by using state and federal aid programs to snatch up more than 2,200 acres. That included 18 Mile Creek, Beeman's Creek, and Larkin Woods. Something I just recently discovered that I absolutely have to share with you is just past Glenwood, past Colden, in the town of West Falls. It's a place unlike anything you've ever seen in Western New York. It's pretty hard to pin down exactly what the Blueberry Treehouse is. It's a U-Pick farm with a kid's dream playground that comes with its own famous land shark mascot, a budding events venue that will soon have a treehouse B&B rental, and to top it all off, there's this otherworldly, surreal, have-to-see-it-to-believe-it two-story treehouse cafe that seemingly has crawled right out of a storybook. I don't even know where to start with this, honestly, because when you first come in, if you just had this, you would say, this is an amazing, beautiful place. I'm going to spend a half hour here. We're going to explore. And I know it wasn't intentional, but how you have this barn this building, and you've got the cafe like tucked behind here.
Sure. I mean, I feel like everything else that we've done has been that way. It's just been sort of right place, right time, you know, happy accidents since the beginning. So I think you're right. When you pull up, you don't, nothing's revealed to you until you get just past the corner of the barn. We weren't trying to emulate anything other than, you know, we wanted it to feel organic, and we wanted it to be in the trees, and we wanted people to experience a treehouse, you know, that most people could never afford or have an opportunity to be in, you know. So I think they come here, and that's what it is.
With that Falls Fest, we were trying to support all the local vendors, the food trucks, the musicians, the beer, all of our beer is local. Just try to support each other, because I know we've been supported, and you know, I think that's a big part of this.
And to really bring home the magic of this little enchanted part of Western New York, there's one of the best regional performance centers in Western New York at the West Falls Center for the Arts. It shares the property right next door to the Blueberry Treehouse.
I get emails all the time and actual letters from people and thank you cards simply for just existing here and being open. You know, there's folks here that can't get to Buffalo, but they can walk here and see world-class concerts. Musical Memories Cafe is twice a month. Veterans music lessons are every Thursday night. We have the Kids Jam, where the kids come twice a month on a Saturday afternoon. Okay. They practice with professional musicians. They learn how to form a band, every age kid, every level kid, and every instrument. And then we have concerts once or twice a week, depending on holidays.
So what's the plans for your future now? Because you told me that this property that you're kind of almost entwined with, the Blueberry Treehouse. Yeah,
so there's about 10 acres back there. And we're not exactly sure of the plans yet, but they will involve our neighbors. And the properties are adjacent and overlap. And we're hoping to have a sculpture park, nature trails, an outdoor amphitheater, more programs for the community, and utilize all of that outdoor space we have.
What we've heard from these musicians over and over again is, I can't wait to come back. This is probably one of the nicest places I've ever played.
Sure. Yes, we all know Kissing Bridge, and maybe you've even heard of Sprauge Brook Park, but this is an area that really deserves a spot on your Western New York country drive bucket list, even if it's just a few times a year. It's full of great small towns that bring back so much of the true charm of a time gone by, all dressed up and ready for a new century.
Don't be afraid to dream. You know, gosh, dream your life away.
Yep.
Because what else do you have if you're not willing to dream?
Exactly.
You know, and work hard and be good.
This episode of Small Town Western New York was made possible by the following supporters.